Baby, don't you wanna go?
Welcome to the Neighborhood Pulse with Kevin Caldas. The Neighborhood Pulse. You know, wherever you are in life, you never forget the neighborhood. This is the show that talks to real estate professionals all about the real estate business and how to maximize your career. Join host Kevin Callback from Realty Executive Cornerstone to learn what the Neighborhood Pulse is. And today, of course, doing a little talking about lending.
Ooh.
How are you, man? Good week?
I'm good. How about yourself, brother?
Yeah, like fast week.
Right.
And already in September, so crazy.
Yeah, where September leaves are starting to change colors already.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
A little bit. Mm-hmm. Which homeowners brings on new challenges for them, you know.
Issues and
challenges,
like
gutters and sealing things up for the winter. Make sure you don't get any water, no bugs, no critters, no. And if you're looking for critter getters, T-Ford Holland is a good friend of mine. He owns Mice Hunters.
Yeah,
and he can seal.
He's
up
been
your
on the
house
show before.
Guarantee. Yes.
Yeah.
Seal up your house so nobody, no critters get into your house. And there's a guarantee with that, which is always good.
Yeah, that's a real good thing.
So yeah, we're going into fall. It's hard to believe that summer's coming to a close. We're celebrating Labor Day this weekend. I know some great things happening this weekend. Last weekend for Renaissance Fair. If you're
the last hurrah of summer, as they say. Huh?
It is.
A lot of kids have already gone back to school, so summer's kind of stopped.
Yeah, I think summer ends like mid August.
Yeah,
the kids are going back. You know, we have Landmark here. They go year round.
Yeah, I like that.
So they go out. They go back early, but now they get like 4 weeks off in October.
Yeah,
so it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
so that's kind of great. So we're talking about lending today. People's money. You know, money's an uncomfortable conversation for a lot of people, and I've had people that I know, like, and trust be very uncomfortable about that conversation. You know, so we want to make it as easy as possible for people and share with others how to make that flow. You know, what questions can you answer for your client? What can you anticipate questions to have or answers to give before they ask them? Sometimes we say, if they're asking a question, we probably failed in giving them the right information, right?
Right. So your guest today is Kent Jones.
Kent Jones.
NMLS 1258805.
Amen.
And he's got several years of lending under his belt.
That's right. Yeah. Many moons, we say, right?
That's right.
So that's pretty cool. It's right. The market is really good, you know. It's strong. People are buying houses. People are selling houses. Interest rates are up. House prices are stabilizing a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're kind of shifting a little bit from a super hot market to just a hot market. We are seeing open houses. That was my first sign of real. The market's changing. Is open house signs everywhere. You're like, oh, you think open houses gone. I don't know. I'm not. I don't love
a year and a half, or nobody. I mean, they didn't even last long enough to get an open house.
I haven't seen an open house in the last year and a half, and now all of a sudden we're seeing open houses and price reductions, and we're like, whoa, what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
But
that's a good thing for buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. Great thing for buyers. Great thing for buyers agents. Great thing for just about everybody involved except the seller, maybe.
Yeah.
But they have to buy.
You can never trade backwards. You can never sell backwards. So when I say that, people who are selling their house understand you weren't ready to sell your house in 2020 and in 2021 when prices were going crazy.
Right.
Even though they're coming down, they're still better than they were in 2018 and 2019.
Right.
So the homes, you may not be maxing out that amount, but for the most part, you still are getting a heck of a deal.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't be losing money at this time.
Yeah. No. Right. And that's the nice thing is if people bought years back, is their debt to income or their loan to value is probably much greater now than it was before then, or that's kind of cool, which is very good. So hopefully nobody will get in a position where they have to let their home go. We do know that happens, and it's unfortunate, but talk to a real estate professional to help you navigate that, as well as an attorney. So good stuff. So we're going into money, talking about money today a little bit.
Yes.
Oh boy, what do you think? Where's where interest rates are bouncing around? Where what would you say about interest rates if you had to tell a story?
Interest rates are great. So if you take a look at the Treasury curve since the late 70s to now, interest rates are still very low. We're in the fives and sixes now. But if you go back just 20 years to 2002, we're still lower than what the rates were in 2002.
Right.
We're coming out of an unheard of and unprecedented year and a half to 2 years of the absolute bottom, lowest rates in history. Just like
there's an anomaly.
Right. Just like in the 80s, mid 80s, it was an anomaly because it was so high. People were getting mortgages on homes for 18%.
Could you imagine?
18%, and they were happy with that. They were happy with 10%.
Right. That's right.
So we tend to, as consumers, get used to rapid changes.
Right.
Yeah,
sure.
And what I tell people is, I will be surprised if we see rates ever fall that far again. Now, that's one of the reasons that a lot of houses aren't on in inventory historically, because the people who would downsize, sell their house, get a smaller mortgage, actually just refinanced and saved that money and didn't have to downsize or move.
Correct. Yes.
And they were able to save that money. 80%. So that's a lot. 80% of the mortgages on the market now are at 3% or lower.
Wow.
80%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a good rate.
So when you look at things financially, and unless you have to move, if you look at things financially, you go, ooh, I'm going to get a house maybe the same square footage, but my rate is going to be 6% now instead of that 3%. And that tends to sway a lot of people's decisions.
Yeah. I have met with 2 different households.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually went through what payments were, et cetera, et cetera. We listed their home in the Coming Soon network, the private listing network.
Yeah.
We went and looked at a house. Interest rates has just been raising. And they pulled their house off the market and says it would cost to downsize and give up the current interest rate I have.
Yeah.
My mortgage payment would be bigger or very close to what I'm paying now. And I have much more space and I love my house and we're not moving. Take it off the market.
I mean, we were fortunate when you helped us buy our house in December, that our house that we lived in and had a mortgage on for 18 years was at 6%.
That's crazy, right?
Okay. And it was comfortable. People are like, you never refinance. I said, no, I never refinanced, because why would I want to start that loan all over again?
Right.
And we're not looking to move anywhere. So and this payment is comfortable and we've budgeted for it.
Right.
So for 18 years, we were sitting at 6%.
Yeah. It's funny because the shoemaker's shoes always are the shoemaker's kids always have a hole in their shoes.
Yeah.
The lender was 6%. It doesn't refi.
Yeah, right. And that was just a financial decision. You got to look at it because there's closing costs and things involved.
Yeah.
And we said, well, if we wanted to, why don't we just take that $3,000 and pay down principal?
Yeah, or pay off a credit card or pay whatever, something,
correct,
right? Anything,
right? And so that's what we decided to do, and that's okay.
Oh, absolutely,
right.
Yeah.
Now, when we moved in December, we were able to get a much larger house, about half as big, so about 1.5 times the size of what we had.
Right.
And we were able to do that because our interest rate dropped in half.
Right. Yikes.
So
awesome.
to get a larger home, we were able to do that, and the difference in costs were literally, I think $100.
That's amazing.
$100 difference.
That's insane.
Less than your phone bill, right?
Right. Yeah. Right.
So it made good financial sense for us to do that because of the equity build that we had in the old home.
Sure.
And what we were able to put down on the new home and still pocket.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And that was a great transaction and transition for your family.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a blessing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So interest rates, like you said, are still good.
Yeah.
People it's like when gas prices go up, everybody's like, and then they come down like a little bit and feel like, oh, gas prices are down. Thank goodness, right? It's the same thing. We saw that gap.
Yep.
When interest rates really started jumping, is the market went silent for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's kind of like, what's going on here, right? That uncertainty causes pause.
Right.
But then they're like, shoot, you know what? It's not going to get any better from here. Let's keep moving. And the market just picked right back up and is running well in our area. Now, there are some other areas that are different. And we'll be talking to Tony Tramontazzi in 2 weeks from today from Phoenix, Arizona, or Scottsdale. I apologize. Scottsdale, Arizona. And he's going to give us the breakdown for what's going on in Arizona. So that'd be fun. Yeah. I'm excited.
That'll be fun. That will be.
For sure.
That'll be fun. Now, here's what is we talk about lending, especially for homes. One thing people have to understand is it's not the same as auto financing.
Right.
Okay. It's not that easy.
No.
And it's not, in some cases it might be the same price,
right.
but most of the times not. When you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars,
right,
there are a lot of things put in place for that. And especially after the 2008, 2009, when that bubble popped, a lot of new regulations have come out from the United States government to protect the people who are borrowing the money. And you have to understand that the bank or your lender, whoever's borrowing you that money, are regulated and have strict guidelines that they have to stay in. Otherwise, they could lose their license and be fined a lot of money.
Yeah,
right.
That's no joke.
So the most important thing, and the first thing that you should always ask yourself if you're looking to purchase a home or refinance, is financially, what are you trying to do? Right. So in the past few years, home sales was an emotional, let's do it because, man, we can afford it. The rates are dirt cheap.
Yep.
And we didn't think too much about financially.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And what I'll use an example is right now we're starting to see new building. Right. So there's new construction, and there's new residential neighborhoods popping up, which is good.
Yes, absolutely.
But a lot of times you get in there, Kevin, and depending on where you're at in the world, if you're in the Illinois area, you don't know what your real estate taxes are.
That's true.
First, is it 2 years?
It's till a certain percentage of the subdivision is built in some cases, and but if you take 3% of the purchase price, typically that's rule of thumb average. It could be more or less.
Right.
Depends on SSAs and HOA fees, and there's a lot that goes into new construction, right? And so once you move in, what happens?
Yeah, so I feel good and I love it, and then I move in, and then once it gets to that point, the next thing I know is I've got real estate taxes that are due or being escrowed. So now my mortgage might have jumped where I was comfortable, low rate, might have jumped $400 or $500.
$1,000. So you buy a $300,000 home, which is very easy to do when you're buying new construction. In fact, and you take 3%, that's $9,000, right? So that's 9 times 8 is 72. Or wait, 12 times 6. Oh, I don't know. It's a lot of money, folks. 12 times 8 is 94, I think, 96. So that's $800 a month.
Yeah.
And some of them are 12,000, 13,000.
Yeah, depending where you're at. So what then you'll see is, I can't afford this house anymore.
Right.
So now I have to put it up for sale. So my first question with all my customers and people that I talk to is, even if they're purchasing, what are we trying to do financially?
Sure, absolutely.
You know, well, I want to buy. Okay, I understand you want to buy a house, but financially, what are you trying to do?
Right.
And are you looking to put a big chunk of money down? Are you looking to not put a big chunk of money down? Are you looking to put
You're looking to become house poor. What's your goal?
Right.
What's your goal?
right, and that's important. So,
Absolutely.
So you should always think about that.
Absolutely, because that's and that's you're asking the right questions. Is what is your goal? Not only bigger house, bedrooms and stuff, but financially, well, how does this impact you? Is super important, and a lot of people overlook that. They're like, well, we can afford that. And can you? I mean, if the car breaks down, you get a flat tire, you get, have you saved up your emergency fund? Have you paid off all your debt? Do you have 20% down? I mean, is now the right time to buy? I mean, then that's
right.
Sometimes we say, sorry, you should not buy right now.
Yeah.
And that's good advice too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good lender will tell you that.
Right. Absolutely.
Not that you don't qualify, but after talking with you, maybe right now it sounds like it may not be the best time.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes they say, yes, we agree. And other times they go work with somebody else in my house. So they're like, oh, you're absolutely right on. But usually they are very good about accepting that advice and working through it and understand and realize that it's the truth.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And because we don't want anybody to regret the home we've helped them get into. Right.
Right. Certainly don't.
So when people are looking for loans, there's a lot of controversy over, is FHA better than a VA? Is conventional better than a USDA? Is a 203K? Is that a spaceship? What is going on here? So there's a lot of opportunities for people to buy homes out there. Mm-hmm. Can you shed a little bit of light on the difference between the loans?
Well, yes. I'm going to take a step back.
Right.
Is as you look to make this purchase and borrow money. Every lender out there has the same yet different products.
Right.
Okay. So there are lenders out there who you may be able to credit you some closing costs. There are lenders out there who may have special programs for first-time home buyers. There may be lenders out there who have special programs for not first-time home buyers.
Right.
So the key would be, as you start your process and you talk with a Kevin callback, is Kevin's going to say, hey, I like this guy, or I like this gal as a lender. And the best thing you can do is just call and have a conversation.
Absolutely. Yep.
And see if number one, the person understands what's happening, is knowledgeable, what type of programs and products they have that could benefit you.
Absolutely.
And then tell them, thanks, I'll get back with you.
Right.
And then call the 2 or 3 other people that Kevin has said, I appreciate these people as well. And you may find out that you get along with me real well.
Right.
But you go to Kyle and he's got a better program that's better suited for what you're trying to do financially.
Right.
So that would be the way to go.
Sure.
But if you just call me and you go, oh man, I really like you, you may miss out on something that could help you out better financially.
Right. Absolutely.
Than that. Now, again, I don't know all of all the lenders' other products, so I couldn't say, well, you call Kyle, call
sure,
whoever, call Brian. We've had on the show.
Yep.
These guys have this type of thing.
Absolutely.
So it
right.
It may be difficult. So the key thing is to interview and talk to 3, maybe 4 different lenders to see what they have out there and where it is. There are also different costs involved. We may have the same product and program.
Sure.
My costs may be twice as much as what Brian's is.
Sure.
So again, that's why that what are we trying to do financially is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we talk about first-time home buyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
People say, well, I've bought a house before, so I'm not really a first-time home buyer. Tell me what that looks, what first-time home buyer means, because it doesn't mean you've never bought a house before.
Right. So one is, you've never bought a house. The other is that you haven't owned a house for at least the last 6 months.
Right.
So if you sold your house because you got a great price on it,
Right.
and you've been renting, and you can prove that you've been renting, then you can qualify for those first time homeowners. Some are 6 months, some are a year.
Right.
So again, it depends on the program.
Yep.
But
so
you'd be able to do that. So you don't necessarily have to. You just don't have to have ownership for a certain period of time, depending on the lender, depending on the program.
Yep, absolutely. And I think a lot of people miss that, because when we're talking to people and they're like, well, I bought a house before, so I don't qualify for those. I'm like, whoa, take a step back. You do, or may. Let's talk to the lender and see what you got.
Yeah.
Right.
So, in my case, I hadn't bought a house for 18 years. Now, I still owned a house, so I didn't qualify.
Right.
But had I sold my house and it would still have been 18 to 19 years since I bought a home. And you're pretty much a first-time home buyer because so much has changed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because I bought my first house back when it was, hey, no doc, no nothing. Don't worry, come on in. You got a job, you got a loan.
Yeah, it wasn't 2007, which is kind of funny.
Right. It sure was. So.
Amen. That's it. So FHA, VA, what's
So there's government loans and there's non-government loans. So you would hear them be called conventional.
Sure.
You can get a conventional FHA loan, right? A VA if you are an ex-military, discharged, I guess, with your DD-214.
DD-214, yep, absolutely.
And
a question to ask when they're DD-214 is, do they have a disability rating, right? To see how their property taxes are affected.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Yep.
Absolutely.
They can. And in several counties I know Illinois, I'll speak for that, is if you are a disabled vet, at a certain percentage, they'll freeze your property taxes and not have to pay them.
Yeah. So zero tax. Yeah. That's one thing state of Illinois does well, is they treat their veterans well.
They do.
So if you are 70 to 100% disability rating, you don't pay property taxes in Illinois, which is huge.
Yeah, it's big.
It is crazy. I love it.
Yeah, that's good.
Sorry, I didn't hate it.
No, that's good. So a lot of times with your government loans, your FHAs, your VAs, things of that nature, you don't need to put quite as much down payment. You're going to get a little better rate for most parts, but there are more hoops that you'll have to jump through.
Sure.
There will be a stricter with the VA and FHA. There will be a stricter appraisal because they want to make sure that it's a safe and healthy place to live. So and the VA, the VA, so Veterans Administration, FHA is Federal Housing Administration. So
right.
When I say that, but the VA will for veterans do 100% of the purchase, no money down, but then they don't put any of the mortgage insurance on it, right?
That's huge, yeah. So no,
FHA will, depending on if you don't put 10% down. So if you're at 90% or over, so if you only put 3.5% down, let's say, you will have that mortgage insurance on there for life.
Right.
It'll stay on that loan for life, even after you fall under the 80%.
Yikes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you do 10% down, then you'll be able to, it will fall off after 11 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That's crazy.
Now, what that does is that's an insurance policy for the lender. So that says, hey, if something were to happen and we can only recoup, so we have to foreclose your house and we can only recoup so much, they're insuring it for
the value.
Yeah.
Which is
so that
good
way
for the bank.
Yeah, it's good for the bank. And that goes on different things. So yeah.
Absolutely. And and a lot of people misunderstand. They think that FHA is better than VA or conventional or whatever the case is. And they're all very great. They're all great loans, and those great loans are just different. And there's different circumstances. Appraisals, when you talk about FHA and VA, if an appraisal comes in and you've waived your appraisal, and it comes in low on an FHA, that appraisal sticks with the home for 3 months. So if they said, well, we want to get a new appraisal because we think that appraiser was wrong, unfortunately, they can't do that. It's locked into the property. Same thing with VA, as those appraisals can't jump around like that as well. Interest rates are fantastic currently. So good time to buy for sure. When you're talking to a lender, some of the things you want to talk about is, as you're providing them with their information, is you want to ask them, hey, are you running my credit today? If they're running your credit, that's okay, but you want to know that is, if it's a soft pull or a hard pull. Soft pull is going to be, they kind of look on Geico.com or wherever you get your rates at by yourself for free, and you can get your credit report run free essentially 3 times a year. It's my freecreditreport.com, or so Google that, and you can check once per year through each agency that runs your credit scores. So if you do it 1 year with Equifax, the next year you can do it with TransUnion, the following year you can do it with another. So you can check your own credit score, but when a lender is really serious about pulling your credit and finding out what you can afford, is they have to pull all 3 credit reports, because those 3 credit reports are going to take those and they're going to average them out and use the median score.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And there's what people don't understand is there's different matrices used depending on what you're borrowing money for.
I've seen that movie.
So yeah, so if you're looking at a house, there's a matrix that they use for home ownership. There's a matrix that they use for autos. There's a personal loans. So there's credit cards. There's like 4 different. And if you look at like Credit Karma, they'll walk you through the 4 different type of matrices.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I was talking about you can get your free credit report at, I think it's freecreditreport.com, but research, I don't have that. I will put it on our website so you'll have it later. But I just don't have it at the top of my head right now, so I'll throw it on there. Yeah,
and when you're, as we're talking about the govies, go back to the govies, and I apologize for just stepping away a little bit, there's guidelines, there's rules, but they're there to really help you out. The FHA is not quite as crazy as it used to be. So
right.
I back several years ago, I was helping a family purchase a home. It might have been one of your deals, I think. I don't know. And they were going FHA.
Yeah.
And this is 10 years ago or something. And so FHA comes in, and they had a shed in their backyard that had peeling paint and rotted wood. This might have been yours, right?
It was, yeah.
And they made them take the shed down.
Yeah.
Because it was unsafe.
Yeah.
It was just a little 8x8 garden shed that you find, right?
Sure.
And had been outside for years and kept lawnmowers, whatever. Nothing great,
right.
Lawnmowers and swim pool noodles or something.
Yeah.
But the FHA said that's unsafe and unhealthy. And I'm like, it doesn't have anything to do with the house.
Right, exactly.
The house came through okay, but then they made the owners before and then they had to send the appraiser back out to do that. Now they're not quite so crazy. They're looking for things like chipped paint.
Yeah,
chipping
paint's
paint,
a big one.
Mold.
Oh yeah.
Electrical sockets that are not
GFI
covered or GFI.
Not covered, correct? Yep.
Is there any tripping hazards, between rooms or things like that? Because sometimes in those old houses it'll kind of unlevel. So there's a lot that they're not necessarily taking. I did an FHA loan for a couple in Cary just in 2020, and I was like, oh man, that's never gonna fly, because it's an old house, but it was an old garage that was like falling down,
right?
And it passed.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I'm like, man, you guys made me
tear
down a shed, an 8x8 shed, but this big garage in their backyard that's lean. It wasn't attached to the house.
Right?
Is like, you're letting that go.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the tough thing is that the FHA still has that feel that if there's something, they're going to
still
get
scary. Yeah, there's people are still afraid. you
Yeah.
know, and
you.
it's
And so there's a lot of sellers agents. I was like, oh, don't take the FHA deal.
right.
But truth be told, is FHA can get you a good buyer and usually a much better rate
Right.
right now. It didn't used to
Right.
be, but
Right.
right now, because of the rate system, FHA is
Is the way to go.
Is the way to
That's
go.
the way to go.
So
yeah, we have some people that say we have a deal right now that the FHA appraiser came in. It was an as-is investment property. They switched from conventional to FHA. We were a little bit like, hold on.
yeah, oh,
And they did ask for a couple of things, and they required us to put a sink in the kitchen. You have to have running water to drink and
Okay.
cook and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And we're good with that. We're okay.
Sounds
We're like,
good.
No problem. We'll throw some cabinet and a sink in. We're good to go. I mean, there were so many things they could
yeah,
have.
it has to be quote unquote livable, is what the FHA will say.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And the kitchen needed a flooring. It had no flooring, so they wanted a flooring. So we got some linoleum that's there. The
Put her in.
guy who's buying as an investor, he's going to rip it all out anyway.
Right.
So. But it was great. I mean, it's just the FHA appraisers are not as bad as they used to be.
Right.
And talk to an appraiser. You know, if you're a licensed real estate professional, meet with an appraiser, talk to them, pick their
Yeah.
brain. I mean, they are so knowledgeable about what they're looking for and what they're doing, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm gonna knock this mic over again.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
in
going
trouble.
and VA is very much the same way. We'll go through with a lot of same
Sure.
things, and that's okay. Depending on if you're disabled or not disabled at the VA, there is a funding fee
Right.
that they will. Now you don't have to
Right.
come up with it, but it's going into your closing costs. It's going
Right.
into, because they'll do 100%.
Right.
And also keep in mind that when they do 100% of the loan to value, as we would call it, you also have to understand that you will have closing costs. You will have to come with money.
Right. There's
To
no
purchase
free
this
rides.
house.
No
Correct.
free rides for
Correct.
sure. And the inspection costs and the appraisal costs and that. So you're going to have some fees up front.
Mhm.
In addition, and talk to your lending professional about that, because there are fees involved, and you do have to bring money to closing. And I don't know that I think there's one opportunity where somebody can leave with money, and that's if they want their earnest money back or something like
Yeah,
that.
it depends
It's
on,
kind of a
on
weird
the contract
situation.
or the program.
But yeah, kind of crazy like that. So, I'm going to buy a house. Interest rates have been on the trend up.
Yeah.
I'm going to lock in today.
Yeah.
So that way I lock in this rate. I'm good for the next 3 months. I can go find a house and I got that rate locked in. Is that right? How it works?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Depending again on the lender and the program, there are some lenders out there who have programs that will call it a pre-lock, and they'll let you lock it for 45 days, even if you have a
Really?
yeah,
See, I didn't know that.
a contract or not. And it's a gamble. I mean,
Right.
right now those rates are kind of bobbing like a
Right.
bobber on the water, up, down, up, down, up, down. And you may say, hey, I'm going to lock in right here, and you lock in, and then all of a sudden rates go down.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you
That's-
gambled, and you lost the gamble.
Yeah, that's it.
Because you locked it for 45 days. So there are some.
That's when you
Here's
say, oh, crap.
yeah. So when it comes to locking your rate, there's three things to look at. One is or ask, is it par? Okay, so par means it shouldn't cost you anything to lock the rate.
Right.
It doesn't cost a thing. It's like, hey, you want this 5.75, lock it in, done, and it doesn't cost anything.
Sure.
There's also buying down the rate,
Right.
which you will then hear points involved, and points are really 1% of the loan.
Right. Yep. 1.1%. Right.
Of the amount of the loan. So if you have a $100,000 loan, $1,000, boop, that's a
Right.
point.
So you buy it for 125. You put 25 down. You buy it for 100,000. It's still $1,000 because it's the amount of the loan.
It's amount of loan, right?
Perfect.
So if you want to buy down that rate from 5.75 to, let's say, 5.5, it may cost you a point. And you're
Right.
going to buy that down. Okay.
Right.
And that doesn't come out of your pocket when you lock. That comes out of your pocket at closing.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, you can also buy up the rate.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you're at 5.75 and you are needing some extra cash for closing, you could buy that up to 575 to 6, let's say, and that again costs the lender a point.
Right.
So they'll give you that point as a lender credit.
Right.
Okay. Now a lot of people are like, well, why would I do that? Well,
Your cash.
number one, bumping it up that much on your loan. Take a look again financially. What are we trying to do?
Right. Right.
Over the long haul of 30 years, yes, it's going to be an immense amount.
Right.
But if you only keep it, as Brian was here, said that the average loan is maybe 5 to 7 years,
Yep.
then it may not be all that bad. So you're going to say, okay, it's going to cost me this much to either buy it up or buy it down if I want to do that. And then what's my return?
Right.
How many payments do I have to make
Right.
to get that back?
Kind of the same question as refinancing, right? Like
Yes.
if I refinance, what am I going to save and how long do I have to stay living here to make that
Yes.
money back, the closing costs,
Yeah.
etc. Now you guys are great. I think it's a $299 closing fee on a refi, which is
Yep.
amazing. So
That's crazy.
that just makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good.
And so you got to look at fees and things. Again, talking with your lender, there shouldn't be an application fee. They shouldn't
Right.
charge you to give you their, give them your information.
Right.
You
Right.
know, and there shouldn't be really any money involved. This is just what I'm saying, until you have to pay for your inspection or appraisal.
Right. Yep.
And then that's not even going to the lender, that's going to the appraiser and the inspector. So your lender shouldn't be making any money
Right.
until you are ready to close.
Right. Exactly.
That's when the
then
money
it's-
comes.
That's it. That's
And
when it
there are lenders out there, brokerage houses and
Mhm.
things of that nature,
comes. Sure.
who will say, "Hey, it's $75 for an application fee. It's this much.
Right. Right.
And they work inside the law. It's not illegal.
right.
This is what they do.
Right.
But again, I'm always going to go back to financially. What are you trying to do?
Right.
If every time you filled out an application for a car or a credit card and it cost you $75, you wouldn't do it.
Right. Oh no, that's right.
You know?
Yeah, you would not shop a lot of places for sure.
What? Ooh, there's a hot rod.
There's a hot rod, right? So people talk about closing costs.
Yeah.
How much money do I need to buy a house?
Yep.
And it's important.
Just had a great conversation with a young lady about that.
Did you?
They're not asking about closing costs. Really, what they're wanting to know is how much money do I have to bring to the close?
Absolutely.
Because closing costs are pretty inexpensive. So if you were to ask me, the closing costs for for a bank in this area or a lender in this area are typically about $1,200. $1,200 to $1,500 is pretty standard.
That's pretty
Those are your closing costs. So you go, yay!
That's
I
right.
can afford that.
good, right.
That's great. Okay, that's the closing costs for the bank.
Right.
Now, we didn't talk about third-party costs. Third-party costs are your title, your inspector, your attorney.
Yeah.
These are third-party costs that could also be $1,300, $1,400.
Sure.
Right? Not each. I mean,
Right.
adding it together. A good attorney is going to be somewhere between $200 and $500 if you're in an attorney-driven state like we are.
Sure.
To close that loan, and then we have our property taxes and our homeowners insurance, and are you escrowing that?
Right.
Okay, so now you're at $1,500, $1,300, so we'll call it about $3,000 there with the attorney, the whole works. So now we're up to about $3,000, and this is just for this example. I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Right. Right.
Okay. And now you've got to escrow your taxes depending on the time of the year and when your taxes are paid.
Right.
In Wisconsin, taxes are paid in January and
Right.
March.
Yep.
Okay. Or you do it all at the end of December. So it's depending on
Yeah.
how they're paid. So you always, everywhere that I know has real estate taxes. So
Yeah.
you have to pay those. And if you're escrowing, it's usually a number of months. So like right
Ahead of
now,
time, right?
it could be 5 months for us because they're doing July and September right
yeah.
now,
Mhm.
next week. And so we have to start an account to cover so that in July we have 100% of
Right.
of the taxes. But to be safe, because we're not sure if your property taxes are going up or going down, we also throw in a 2-month cushion in there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's say that your real estate taxes cost you $500. We're going to take 7 months right now, let's say.
Yeah.
So that's another $3,500. Now we went from 3 to about 6,500.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do the same with your homeowner's insurance. You're going to pay it up front. So now there's $1,000 that comes out of yours.
Right.
So let's just say it's $100 a month, and then we're going to pick up 2 months.
Right.
So
There you go.
so now we're up to 60, 6,500, 6,700.
Yep. Absolutely.
And so it starts adding up, right? So what people are really asking is, hey, I'm putting 20% down. So I'm coming with that 25,000. Okay. Well, you are then gonna let's add on another 6,500.
Right. That's right.
So you're gonna need about 30,000, or we need to be able to prove $31,000
Sure.
that you have
Yep.
for this transaction.
And as you write the contract for the house,
Mm-hmm.
right, the upfront fees, people are like, well, okay, what do I need to buy? Is you're going to have an inspection. You don't have to have. I highly recommend
it.
having an inspection, and you're going to have to pay for the appraisal unless the bank, you're putting a amount down that they waive the appraisal. The appraisal will be about another $500 or so.
Yeah.
So that's $1,000 or so, and then you have your earnest money, which we're going to hold on to until closing or until the contract gets terminated and determine who gets that money. So that's money you'll have to have an upfront as well.
Right.
Everything else is pretty much at the end.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Chokes you right up.
Yeah, it chokes me up. So yeah, there's other costs you could have. If you want to do a radon test, it's an additional cost. You want to do a lead-based paint test, it's an extra cost. So your inspections, typically $500 to $600 for a typical home here. Could be different. It depends on square footage. There's a lot that goes into that, but here it's about $500 or $600. So you need at least $2,000 just to enter into the game. So your ticket for admission is because $1,000 earnest money is very small, and they're probably going to want more than that.
Yeah.
So you're probably looking at about $5,000. So put $3,000 or 1% of the purchase price is what we like to see, plus the inspection costs. So that's the upfront. You get that earnest money, goes towards your down payment. It counts as that money that you're bringing to closing.
Yes.
So you don't lose that money. It's not a gift.
Right.
Now, there are some states where you write an offer and you give money that's non-refundable with your offer, which is crazy.
Yeah. And then the last thing with this, as we're running out of time, man, that went fast. But is to understand that the process, you're until you're sitting at that table and money is wired and transferred and all that good stuff. The process is tough.
It is. It's
tough.
Yeah.
It's stressful. It's anxiety filled, and there are things that can be anticipated, but then there are some things that may pop up because of rules, regulations, laws, compliance, those type of things.
Yeah.
And what will happen in most cases for most people borrowing is this. There's going to be a lot of communication between you and your lender and or processor, lender's team, I'll put it.
Yep.
And it's going to seem like they're asking for the same thing 6 times. And you're going to be like, didn't I give that to you? Didn't I give that to you? Didn't I give? Sometimes, yes, you did.
That's right.
Right. And we missed it or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But sometimes it's because now they need it updated.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
I sent you
like
my
a bank statement.
I sent you my bank. Yep. We need the current one.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So.
But just like today, everybody needs to provide a new one today because
or a pay stub.
September.
Yeah, or a pay stub because now you just got paid again. So
right.
you just,
That's it.
So there's things it'll seem redundant and very stressful. Hopefully you have a good lender. I know most of the people that I know are just they're good. I don't think there's too many. There's too many laws and regulations to get shady people.
Right.
And I think it's good now. But I think that you just have to understand it's a long, tedious, stressful, anxiety-ridden process.
Except if you're working with us, then it's nice
Yeah.
and smooth and easy, and don't worry about it. You're gonna be fine.
Well, we'll try to massage and take care of you through it. But trust me,
yeah.
we're both bald for a reason.
That's
we
it.
don't wear
That's
hats,
it.
right?
Yeah, right. So yeah, we'll get you through the process. There is a little bit of stress and anxiety, but there's also a lot of happiness and a lot of excitement, and it's pretty fun process as well. So it's kind of great. I can't believe it's over already, and we got Tony Tremontazzi coming in 2 weeks from Scottsdale, Arizona.
It's gonna be fun.
He's amazing, and check out Dave Ramsey's. Right now, he has a video that I'd like to share with you. It just tells you where the state of the market is, and in his eyes and views, and shows you the past.
You'll put that up on Facebook,
to the present, and to the future. Absolutely, yeah.
All right, that'll be posted out on the Facebook.
It'll be posted on the Facebook. Yeah. Brother, have an amazing Labor Day. Everybody out there that's working and such, break the chains that bind you. It's Freedom Friday, baby. Rock and roll.